All right. Now let's go with the next item that we have, that is DataDog. Do you remember what are the different metrics that we collect as part of performance testing?
Mm, are you talking about like latency?
Yes.
Okay, latency.
Mhm.
Um, do I remember the other ones?
Okay, we have latency, we have response time, we have concurrency, we have throughput, right? We also have something called as resource utilization. Like we want to see what amount of CPU, RAM, and disk IO operations are going on behind the scenes on our servers. DataDog is a tool that can help me in getting that information. So the resource utilization on my servers, I can get it with the help of DataDog. So DataDog is a monitoring tool which can be used for monitoring two things. One is the infrastructure, like what are the different servers that are present in case, let's say, I'm hosting my application on cloud and I want to see what are the different servers that are there, what is the state of each of the server. I can go ahead and do a DataDog integration. A Datadog integration will capture the infrastructure information. Then let's say I want to go ahead and identify information. I want to go ahead and see the resource utilization based on the process. Then I can use a Datadog agent. So I can log into a server, install a Datadog agent that will capture information with respect to CPU, RAM, and other resource utilization. It is a cloud-based tool and it can be used for monitoring applications which were built using any stack. It's not specific to .NET. Unlike .trace and .memory, they are specific to .NET. Datadog is capable of monitoring applications that were built using different technologies like .NET, Java, and so on. It provides you with real-time monitoring on the usage of resources and the status of the infrastructure of your applications. And it can collect that usage data from different applications, servers, the cloud infrastructure. It's primarily used by system administrators so that they can monitor a particular server. In case, let's say, the server is offline, then they may want to go ahead and bring it back online. So they need to monitor the server infrastructure. Again, system administrators can use it. DevOps engineers and developers who create applications, they may want to know what is the resource utilization of their applications that they are building so that they can optimize. Again, Datadog is helpful for them as well. Any questions?
None so far.
Okay. So in Datadog, we have some features like it allows me to tag the resources which are there on my infrastructure. Like if I have a database server, I have multiple application servers, and I want to filter through them, then I can assign some tags to those servers and later on filter through those servers so that I can manage a bunch of servers through a single account. It also provides us with visualization of the data in terms of graphs and charts. Let's say there is CPU utilization, it's going to provide me a graph on the CPU utilization. So it gives me some dashboards that I could use. It can also trigger alerts and notifications. Let's say whenever the CPU is spiking to above 90%, I want to know about it. I can configure an alert in Datadog. So these are the things that Datadog provides as a features for again to be used by administrators, DevOps, or developers. To create an account on Datadog, we can go to datadoghq.com and create an account there. Because it is a cloud tool, it provides with a SaaS model, and we can use this. I do believe it's used by our administration team in decisions, the IT team who manages the servers like the cloud ops team and all. Um, and I think they will also provide with credentials to the developers just in case if you want to go ahead and see the resource utilization. But you don't have to worry about installing Datadog and doing the integrations because that will be taken care of by the IT administrators. Any questions?
Oh,
Okay. So this is how the homepage of Datadog looks like. As you can see on this homepage here, it's saying like they have more than 400 integrations, right? And you can integrate it with different cloud providers like Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud Platform. And it can be used for any technological stack that you have built your application with, like you build your application using Node, Python, Ruby, .NET, or whatever other technology that you have used, it can capture that information about an application. Here's a custom dashboard. It is possible to use the existing dashboards which Datadog provides, but it's also possible to create custom dashboards. Like there is one that you can see over here, which was created for some Docker containers. It's giving some real-time data about CPU usage, memory, and the network activity. We can also go ahead and filter this information. If you see here above, there is a scope. You can just click on that and filter down the information based on the tags that you have assigned to different resources. Any questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Now, one thing that we as developers have to do in Datadog that is called as synthetic monitoring. Now, when it comes to resolving or when it comes to the errors in an application, there are two ways of approaching that. One is a reactive approach, that is, we the customer will come back and say that I faced an exception while the application is running. So now as a developer, I will react to it and I'll work towards fixing that problem. There is another approach that is proactive, wherein me as a developer will constantly monitor their application. And if there is some issue that is happening, then I can reach out to customers saying that XYZ issue happened and we are working on fixing that. Right. And that will improve our customer experience. The synthetic test in Datadog allows us to be more proactive, like we can run some tests in background to make sure that our application is running. In case if there is any error or the application is not running, encountering an exception, then I can go ahead and fix that without a customer coming to me and informing me about those errors. Is this clear?
Yeah, everything you're saying makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
guess. Uh-huh.
All right. So synthetic monitoring in Datadog can be configured by developers. We can go ahead and observe how our systems are working, how the application is performing by simulating some traffic to our application. And this simulation, we can also do it for different locations as well. So we can go ahead and perform some tests on the web pages or APIs at network level to see whether we are getting the correct responses from our application. And in case if something is broken, let's say we're trying to call an API and it's returning me the status code other than 200, then Datadog say it can go ahead and send me some alerts so that I can fix those problems. So creating a synthetic test, it's again a multi-step process. So there are 7 steps in it. We start by choosing a request, defining the request, defining an assertion, selecting the location, defining retry conditions, then defining the schedule, and lastly, monitoring our tests. I don't have a Datadog account. So what I did is I did took some screenshots on how each of these steps looks like so that I can give you some visual information about what do we mean by choosing a request type. All right. So first thing that you do is you choose what kind of request you want to make to your application, whether it's an HTTP request or a DNS or some other kind of request. Let's say you have selected HTTP request. Then you need to define that request, like whether it is a GET request or a POST request. We need to specify the type of request and the URL as well, so that we can make a request to that URL. Next thing, we define an assertion. When we try to access that URL, on what conditions we say that that attempt is successful, and in what condition we say that the attempt failed. So you define multiple assertions. Like here, we are saying when response time is less than 3 seconds, then I'm going to consider that as a successful test. Also, the HTTP status code returned is 200 and the header content type is set to text/HTML. When these 3 conditions are met, the request which was sent to this URL will be considered as successful. If any of these conditions are not met, that will be considered as an error, and then we can go ahead and have some alerts for it. Any questions?
No.
All right. So it's already 8:30, but I need 5-10 minutes more so that I can finish this. Will that be okay with you?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So next thing is we select the locations. So I want to simulate this request from different parts of the world because my customers, the end users of the application, they may be from different regions. So we can choose over here from the regions from where we want to send this request. So I can select over here America, Canada, so on and so forth. We can select all the regions or we can select any specific regions that we want. Next, we specify a retry condition. See, there are some errors that will from which an application auto recovers. For example, let's say there is a lot of requests that are coming to my application and it is overloaded with requests. After some time, the number of requests are gradually going to decrease, right? So my application will recover from that. We don't want to go ahead and get some alerts every time things like this is happening, right? Or let's say the network is slow. There is a possibility that, the network bandwidth may improve after some time. right? Say maybe 1 or 2 minutes, or we're doing a server restart for, let's say, 2 minutes. If we try to reach out to that particular server, since it's restarting, we don't want an alert for that. So we can go ahead and specify retry conditions, like how many times it should retry before it triggers some alerts for us. So we can specify the retry number of times and the time as well. Next, we specify the schedule for this test, like how many times a day, for what duration we want to run this test, like 5 minutes, every 5 minutes I want to test it, or every 10 minutes I want to test it. I can define a schedule for my test, as well as the condition for the alert. Like if it is failing, let's say, X number of times within, say, 5 minutes, I want to go ahead and have an alert. And say for which location, let's say there are 4 locations I've configured. Out of 4, if it is failing for one location, then I can go ahead and trigger an alert. Lastly, we configure the alert message itself, like what should be the alert message, who should be notified. So we can specify the team members and the alert message that we want to trigger. So that's how we configure a synthetic test for DataDog. Now, this is not a load test. This is basically us as developers proactively monitoring our application and testing it in the background to make sure that it is always reachable. And in case if it is not reachable, failing any assertions, we get the notifications and we work on fixing the problem before the customers start reporting to us. Any questions?
So this probably isn't something, this is something that we could do, probably not something that we.
Some of the customers, they request for the synthetic test to be configured.
Mm.
We don't always do it, but it's a good thing to do.
Okay.
Yes.
And when a customer wants this, it's us that does it?
Yes, the synthetic test needs to be configured by the developers, because we know what are the different endpoints for the applications and what are the
Mm.
responses that are being generated. So the developers will have to go ahead and configure this test. Whereas installing Datadog, setting up the infrastructure integrations and all, the administration team, the IT team, they can take care of that.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Okay. So that was Datadog. Next, we have JMeter, and we can start with JMeter from tomorrow.